What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Simon, Toronto Thrifter Man, and in this video I'm going to talk about 10 BOLO clothing brands that you guys should be looking out for at the thrift store. Now, keep in mind, I'm in Canada, so here we might not have access to the same brands that you guys may have in the United States, right? So just keep that in mind when you're watching, and just know that here in Canada is a lot different in terms of brands that we have access to. Another thing too is I don't pick up any jeans or jackets or hats, stuff like that, just because it's difficult for me to ship the items to the States, right? It costs a lot from Canada to the States, so I usually pass on that kind of stuff. And this is just mostly for like tops, like t-shirts, jerseys, stuff like that, right? So let's get into it. Top 10. Now, this isn't in any particular order. I didn't do it like that. I just kind of wrote down some brands that I find. Now, this is stuff that you can also find on a relatively regular basis. So I didn't include brands that I find like maybe once in like months. This is stuff that I come across somewhat frequently, some more than others, but yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that. And let's get started. First brand that sometimes I find is Ed Hardy, and it's like a vintage brand. I guess from the early 2000s it was popular. Has a lot of unique design to it, tigers and like rhinestones and different colors. It's like a tattoo kind of brand, if you guys don't know. And that I don't find often, but it does sell well if you can find a unique design on it. It'll sell pretty well. So be on the lookout for Ed Hardy. Next up is OVO. Now, I know OVO recently isn't as popular as it was before because Drake is he's not doing too well right now. But I find in the thrift stores, actually, because I'm in Toronto, obviously, I find it quite a bit, and I usually still pick it up, even though it's not as popular as it was. I still pick it up if it's priced well. So be on the lookout for OVO. Obviously, if you're in the States or not in GTA, then it's probably harder to find, but that's a good brand to look out for. Next up is Robert Graham. Robert Graham. Actually, I never even knew about Robert Graham until I started thrifting and seeing it in the thrift stores. And it has to be like a unique design, right? It has to be like one of those colorful, crazy designs. If it's just a basic Robert Graham shirt with no design, then I would pass on it. But if it's unique, has a unique pattern, unique color, limited edition, look out for the limited edition. I actually did a video a while back of a bunch of limited edition Robert Graham shirts I found in the thrift store. I think I found like 20 or 30 shirts, and those sell for well over 100, 150, some even over $200 for limited edition Robert Graham. So look out for them. I find Robert Graham all the time in Toronto, and usually the thrift stores, they don't really know what it is, and they price it pretty reasonable. You can find a nice shirt for around $10. So be on the lookout for Robert Graham. Another one is Double RL, Ralph Lauren. It's Ralph Lauren's like higher end, top of the line brand. And I honestly, I don't find Double RL that often. I think I've only found it a couple times, but I found it recently actually. But it sells really well, and you can get upwards of $100 for a shirt. Recently I picked one up. I think I paid $20, but I knew it would sell for good money. I think I sold it for $80 or something like that. So yeah, Double RL. I'll be honest, I don't find it that often, but it's definitely out there. So be on the lookout for Double RL. Bape. Love picking up Bape stuff. I do find it occasionally. And usually, the vintage Bape stuff sells pretty good. Hoodies. I think I found a hoodie recently for $5. You can get at least $100, $150 for the hoodies. The vintage hoodies from the early 2000s with the crazy designs. yeah, usually Bape, does well. Obviously, with all these items, they have to be unique. Like they have to have like some kind of unique design or pattern or something like that, right? But Bape is another good one to look out for. Next up, Tommy Bahama. Now, Tommy Bahama shirts, I'll only pick up if they're silk and if they have a really, unique pattern, like I've been saying, like floral design or, some kind of unique stitching or, something like that, right? Usually I'll pass on Tommy Bahama if it's just like a basic button-up shirt. But if it's silk, has a unique design, and it's reasonably priced, like under 10 bucks, I'll pick it up. Usually they sell pretty well. Next up, any Nike Kobe stuff usually sells pretty good. Not as much now, I find, but if it's priced well, I'll still pick it up. Especially there's some shirts out there that are really unique, Kobe shirts, and really rare that sell for really good money. You can probably get upwards of $100 for one that's like in good condition. So look out for Kobe stuff. Vintage band concert t-shirts, tour t-shirts, NASCAR tees. I don't find them that often, but I know a lot of them sell for good money, especially if they're vintage, single stitch. You can get, really, really good money on eBay with, the band t-shirts or NASCAR tees. Next up, vintage jerseys. So any vintage jerseys, especially soccer. Soccer jerseys is like my, number one item that I look for when I'm in the thrift store. Usually just because they price them really cheap, $10 and under. And some of them go for really crazy money, especially if you get them, the branded ones like vintage Nike, vintage Adidas ones. You know, all the top clubs, you're gonna get, really good money, especially for the older ones. And then hockey jerseys are good as well. They don't sell as well as soccer, but they're good, and I find them pretty often as well. Basketball jerseys I don't usually find, and then football jerseys for some reason don't really sell for that much money. So football jerseys I usually pass on, but soccer and hockey, look out for those. They sell really well. And especially in Toronto, there's a lot of them that I think people buy when they're traveling, like they're overseas somewhere, and they buy these jerseys, and then they, obviously when they come back, and then they donate them, right? So a lot of these jerseys you probably can't even buy here in Canada. So that's what makes them, sell really well. So look out for the vintage soccer jerseys. That's probably my number one BOLO item. And then next up, any player issue clothing. So I just found like a Roger Federer t-shirt that sells for around $100. So anything like that. Tiger Woods is another one. Has to be like a unique piece, a unique shirt. But any athlete collabs, look them up, or any collaboration items in general usually sell for really good money. So look them up when you're out there. And when you're looking for clothing at the thrift store, anything unique, anything that you see that looks unique, usually I'll Google Lens it and see, right? It doesn't hurt to see like what it is, and then sometimes you can find some really expensive stuff, right? So just be on the lookout for unique items and stuff that looks like it might be like higher end or worth some money, right? So those are the items that those are the brands that I look out for and that I see relatively often out there, and that I've been selling for a while and that sell well for me. So that's the video for today. Thanks for watching, guys. If I missed any, let me know in the comments, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.